Welcome, everyone. Today is March 18th, 2025. This is EDU Endpoint Office Hours. Thanks for joining. Today, we are joined by our colleagues, Anthony, Wallace, and Paddy, who are doing Cloud PKI overview today. So really grateful to them for presenting today. Hopefully, Paddy joins us here in just a moment. There he is. I knew he wouldn't miss this for the world. So thanks, guys, for joining. We have a few topics to cover today. I don't have a ton of links or updates to share like we usually do in our standard fashion, but I've got a couple. And the reason is because we have some more internal updates for you. So I am going to progress through this slide, and I still have a call for presenters out there. And I don't know if you got the email. We'll talk about the emails in just a minute, but there's a link even in the email for you to be able to fill out this form. I'm sure Anthony or Richard or Chanel or Patty are able to throw this link in the chat for you because I'm not using PowerPoint Live. Feel free to fill this out and come present because we want to hear customers like yourselves present. I have had the, I would say, privilege of having multiple customer conversations this week where it's customer to customer, and they're so much better than Microsoft to customer. So we want to foster a better sense of community. Come share what you're doing. Come share what you're learning, how things are operating in your organization, district, whatever it may be. We're here to learn. You may think that it's not applicable to other customers, but we're all here to learn. And there's always something to learn from other organizations and just different approaches. The conversations that I've had have always been fruitful when customers are talking to customers or peers talking to peers. So fill this out, come present, and share all the goodness that y'all are doing. All right, the next slide. This is where we're going to have some of the updates, and I'm going to let Richard mostly talk about this because he's a better communicator than I am. But essentially, we have a new team with a new email group attached to it. So Richard, take it away.
I don't know, I'd say a better communicator. I just talk more than you do. But so in the past, we've had this team in the past, and then we had a challenge where our team got deleted. Well, the users of the group got deleted, but the team still remained. And so at the beginning of the fiscal year, we had you all re-register. But we didn't really do much with those registrations at the time because we didn't really know exactly if we wanted to keep the team or do anything different with it. And so what we decided was that we do need a better way of collaborating. I still don't know that the team is actually the best way to do that because of tenant switching. So what we've done is anyone that registered in the past year, so March of last year up until now, we have added you all back to the team. And doing that allows us a couple things. First, it allows us to open the team back up if we do that. So if you've tried to post something, you've noticed that you can't, and that's on purpose. But the second thing that it does is it actually allows for email distribution. So you guys can actually email the Endpoint Office Hours distribution group, and you can communicate both with our team, but then also with each other as well. And I've got a suspicion that I think email is going to be used more heavily than the team was in the past. Now, we can always open the team up in the future, but for right now, it's going to be closed. I want to see how things go with email first, just because I think most people are in their inbox pretty much all day. I know I am, and I know the folks on my team are. And so I'm more apt to see what everyone is posting through email rather than checking the litany of teams that I'm at internally here at Microsoft. It's likely that I miss stuff there, but I'll probably catch it in email. So we've got the team set up. If you did not get a registration invite to the team, you can fill out the registration form again. That will send us a notification that someone has registered. And then we can take your email and we'll have to manually add you to the team. Unfortunately, there's no way to automate this. We tried a lot, and we weren't able to. We weren't able to automate like I wanted to. There's just permissions that we don't have access to on the graph side of things, internally for our internal tenant that won't allow us to do that.
Yeah, there's a technical solution. We just don't have access to it.
Right. Yeah, we've got the code and we've got everything working to do it. It's just that they won't give us the permissions that we need. So that's unfortunate. But given all of that, you guys now can collaborate with us, and this just includes asking questions, like the same questions you guys ask here. You can ask them into the email DL, and if there's stuff that we see in there that's pretty common, things that you guys are seeing out in the field that we think would be good to have a discussion on the call, we'll definitely pull those up. I'll have to copy and paste the link once I'm done talking here. I'll post the link to what the email distribution group alias is. You should have access. You should have gotten an email that actually tells you what, how to email. It's from the office or the Endpoint Office Hours group. There's like a group email or something that when you got added about a week ago or so, there should be like a link there you can click on and says, go ahead and email the distribution group. Do not respond to Garrett's email from yesterday, assuming that that's going to send it to the right group. That won't. That goes to a group of just me, Garrett, Patty, Chanel.
That's a service account.
That's all of us internally. But there's a separate group that you'll email, and I'll copy and paste that link in the chat here in a sec.
Yeah, I should have put it in the slide. Sorry.
Yeah. Other than that, that's all done. So you guys can and should communicate through that DL. And with that, I guess I'll just hand it back over to you, Garrett.
Yeah, and Tom had asked a question earlier. Are we going to have, now that we have the team, are we going to have different channels that we can post in? We can certainly try that as well over time. I think we want to try the email first and see if that's a little bit better. But if y'all decide that y'all want to stick to teams and y'all are cool with tenant switching, then yeah, that's the way we'll do. But regardless, we're now set up for success, we think, with both the email distribution group and the team itself. And so, we'll lean on y'all to tell us what works best for y'all. Again, this is for y'all. So y'all are the bosses, and we are here hopefully to support and serve. But I also say that with great power comes great responsibility. So just because you have access to the email distribution group, that's going to go to everyone. So be mindful about what you're writing. Don't badmouth each other or anything like that. If y'all are abusing it, then we'll take it away from you. You hear me?
Garrett, you sound like a dad.
I wonder why. All these kids running around. Y'all aren't children, though. Y'all are adults. Don't worry about that.
Some of us are adults.
Leaves like I feel attacked. So cool. Yeah. If you do not, funny Carrie. If you didn't get that registration form, fill out the new form. We'll get you added, and you'll have access to everything again. So, woohoo! Good job, Richard. Alrighty. Just a quick reminder, the week before last was the technical takeoff, hosted by the Windows and Intune product groups. You can access all of the recorded sessions at aka.ms/technical takeoff. All of the YouTube videos are there on that site now. You can watch all of them. We went through the latency session last time we were all together, which was really good. I think that's still our favorite one. But there were some other sessions that were published that were really good. So if you've got a favorite one, share it in the chat, but you can access all of those recordings there. We highly encourage you to check those out. Just a few updates today, again, because we want to get to the presentation at hand, but I'm actually going to kill my screen and run through this again. We want to start working on our session controls, meaning like how do we present this content so it actually makes sense to you live today, but also for our friends that are watching the recording. So watch this. I'm going to jump from the PowerPoint screen to the actual blog, and I'm going to walk you through this. So the big ones I want y'all to be aware of. I know, look at us, we're so fancy. There is an incoming update to the enrollment policies for iOS and iPad OS. via the automated device enrollment, Apple enrollment policies. So if you take a look at this blog, you will notice that it's essentially like what we've done with autopilot device prep. We've reworked the backends to automate some things, update some things. There have been some policies that Apple has that have been deprecated. We've removed those. So it's like we're updating that enrollment experience for these devices, just like we've done with autopilot. What's nice about this is that your existing enrollment policies that are in your tenant, they will not be deleted. They will still work, but you will want to, I guess, whenever you create new enrollment profiles, it's going to follow the new format through that. So be sure to read through this blog if you are managing iOS or iPadOS devices. Again, there's lots of benefits to the updated experience, but there's one key difference in that the company portal app will no longer be installed or force installed during the enrollment process. So there are additional steps that you need to take to deploy that company portal app. So if you're using the new setup assistant with Modern Auth or the company portal authentication profiles, right, that looks a little bit different now. So heads up there, this is coming in Q2. So between March and June is what's tentatively scheduled for. But I would encourage you to read this blog and make sure that you understand what's coming. Again, your existing policies are not going to be affected. You can still delete them, you can still edit them, but moving forward, when you create new ones, it's going to follow the new flow. The second big update I want you all to be aware of is that the Windows app is going to replace the remote desktop app for Windows devices. So if you are not familiar with...
Garrett.
What?
What does this mean? Does this mean I'm going to lose MSTSC?
No.
Oh, so what the heck is this app?
The remote desktop app that was in the Microsoft Store. Yeah.
Oh, but it doesn't say that in the title. It doesn't say store in the title.
But it says it right here in the first sentence.
But no one reads the first sentence, Garrett.
For I do. Most people should. If you're using the remote desktop app from the store, not the built-in MSTSC client that's baked into Windows, from the store, the Windows app is now replacing this. So we want you to migrate to the new Windows app for all your users. This, again, is the new remote desktop unified app. It gives you access to all your cloud PCs via Windows 365, AVD, and DevBox if you're using that. It also has all of your remote apps that are published through AVD. So just know that we are deprecating the store app of remote desktop in lieu of the new Windows app. That is in the Microsoft Store, and you can deploy it from Intune or whatever your favorite flavor of deployment apps is.
No, MSTSC
is not going away.
Has Microsoft ever considered not reusing the same names over and over and over for different products? It would help tremendously with these confusions.
Right? Oh, I think Microsoft we all 100% agree.
Microsoft marketing.
We're just lucky it wasn't Copilot for support.
Oh yeah. No, this has caused a ton of confusion with it. I just had an email just like, I don't know, 10 minutes ago about this that I saw on some listserv. Yeah. Like people are freaking out thinking that MSTSC is just going away. When in reality, it's just this remote desktop app that's in the store. A lot of people didn't use it, and it's being replaced by the Windows app. But like someone mentioned in the chat, it doesn't allow you to just directly connect to a remote desktop PC within your network. It only allows you to connect to AVD, DevBox, and Windows 365 for now. We'll see if that changes in the future. But for now, those are the capabilities you have. So you'll still have MSTSC. You'll still be able to remote with the old tool. You just won't be able to use the store app anymore, and that's completely gone.
Yep.
As of
May, which is nice. Like the Windows app supports things like MAM now for Windows devices and conditional access, so it's a better app all up. But this is coming quick. I didn't say this, but starting May 27th, 2025. So like a little over 2 months from now. So
yeah.
Be aware. Okay, the last thing I want you to do.
Mac OS that got replaced according to the document. So there's no standalone RDP client for remote desktop. It is the Windows app. now as well.
Oh,
so
for
if you
Mac OS.
TSC, switch to Microsoft's products.
And
As
this
you
doesn't
always
replace,
should.
and you may have mentioned this already, but this doesn't replace the MSI you manually download. It only replaces the Windows Store version of the remote desktop
That's
client.
correct. That's yep, right here highlighted is that the MSI still works.
Thank you.
It's just for the store.
But note that we had to put an editor's note in there a week ago.
The next day.
It didn't say that at the beginning.
Yeah.
So in terms of speaking about what might happen in the future, and I know no one will know, but should we start to move people to this new MSI client, or is MSTSC still the recommended? I haven't used the MSI, but is that the newer thing people should be moving to, or is that going to be legacy at some point in the near future?
So stick with MSTSC.
Okay.
If that's what you're using today to remote to internal machines, that's fine. You can use the MSI for ABD scenarios.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, you can still. I mean, I use MSTSC like every day.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Times are changing. Yep.
I see some chat really quick. I'm not following the chat right now, but I see discussion around like remote help and TeamViewer, but I want to make sure that it's clear that this is not remote help.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with remote help, has nothing to do with TeamViewer. This is strictly just the remote desktop app and the Windows in the Microsoft Store. That store-based app is going away. That's all we're talking about here.
Yeah. And really more from an end user perspective, right? If you publish a virtual desktop or a remote app and user accesses it through the remote desktop app through the store, that's the scenarios you mostly need to be concerned about.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. This was also a great blog. It's not really news, but I thought you would all appreciate it. But it's an article on optimizing Windows Autopilot bandwidth using the new connected cache standalone. So I know we've talked about this a couple of different times, that connected cache standalone that is available for education customers. You can take advantage of it. It's part of your existing subscription. It is not attached to Config Manager. You could still use it attached to Config Manager if you want, but the standalone version that was released, I think while I was out in November around Ignite, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is a great blog highlighting some of the technical capabilities around optimizing the autopilot traffic in your environment utilizing connected cache. So definitely check this one out. Some really good troubleshooting steps in here. I didn't read this whole thing through, but I did want to at least share with you that because you may have a nugget or two that you take away to optimize the traffic in your own environment if you're struggling with that. All right, and then the last thing that I'm gonna do is jump back in. Hopefully this was easier for the recording, and I think we're ready to pass it off to Patty and Anthony to talk about Cloud PKI. So I think y'all are presenters. If y'all are ready, I will stop sharing my screen and pass it over to y'all.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Garrett. Let me go ahead and share the screen really quick, and then we will get started.
Y'all give them a big warm welcome. Let me see some reactions in the teams. Or, some physical applause always.
All right. Is my screen showing?
Yeah, we got you, bud.
Perfect. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having us on here. We are part of the same team as Garrett and Richard. That's both a good and a bad thing, but for now it's a great thing. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Anthony Wallace. I'm a Microsoft Cloud Endpoint Technical Specialist here at Microsoft Education. I'm here with my colleague, Paddy, who I just lost my screen. Can you guys hear me?
Hello, everyone. My name is Paddy Damodharan. I'm a technical specialist in the same team as Garrett and Richard and Anthony as well. We are here to talk about the Cloud PKI. Anthony, thank you.
Awesome. All right, so I'm just going to dive into a couple different things really, really quickly. Let's run through, kind of segue into Cloud PKI, where it lands in the Intune environment, and Patty will take over and do a bit of a deep dive. So what is Microsoft Intune? Let's start off with that. If you're on this call, you either have an idea of what Microsoft Intune is, you are either toying around with the idea of using it, or you're heavy in the trenches of using Microsoft Intune. So just a quick synopsis of what Intune is. It is our unified endpoint management solution. So it's not a MAM, it's not an MDM. It is a unified endpoint management solution that does all of the above and then some, leveraging our Microsoft Cloud environment, and giving you the ability to manage your endpoints from the cloud, wherever you have the ability to have access the internet, access your network. You can do everything that you need to do from the cloud using Microsoft Intune. It's essentially sort of the backbone behind our zero trust policies, and kind of what we really kind of back behind going with that zero trust model of security, and kind of segues into everything that we do with everything from security, endpoint management, user management, and things like that. That's basically what Microsoft Intune is. Now, taking it a step further, we have a new set of tools that we introduced a while back called the Microsoft Intune Suite. And what the Intune Suite is, if you're not familiar with what the suite is, it is an additional set of tools, and that are additional purchase. You can either purchase the entire suite or particular features that you like, or different plans. But what the Intune is it's we have to give you the ability to do more of what you need to do in your environment, by using the single pane of glass that Intune provides you with. Screen here, we have 6 of the prime features that really come, and I'll just rapidly run through them. Starting from the top, we have remote help. Now, I know we mentioned this on calls before, but if you are an education customer and you have A3 and A5, my team, the product team, work diligently to make sure that this particular is included licensing for free. So you do not need to purchase this. It's already included. You can start using it today. Not familiar with that, just log into your Intune and go to tenant administration, and you can go ahead and enable that, and you can start using it immediately. Then we have Tunnel from AM, which is basically a per app VPN solution for allowing particular applications to be able to tunnel into. I'm sorry.
Hey, can you turn off your video? I mean, you're getting some slight interruptions in your speech. Just want to see if that
got it. Yeah.
Helps. All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so Tunnel from AM is basically a per app VPN solution designed for mobile, support iOS and Android platforms, and it provides you with a secure way to access your on-premises resources, need for device enrollment. Then we have EPM, which we refer to as endpoint privilege management. That's going to of local admins with controls for elevation of standard users. So being provide a user the ability to leverage elevated access to install or run a particular application or service, and things like that. Then we have advanced endpoint analytics. So that's basically going to be analytics up notch, giving you data-driven analytics provided with AI anomaly detection. A lot of different tools really benefit being able to get more insight into what's going on in your environment. One of the cooler things in that is, especially in education, is the battery health monitoring. That one's been a really big ask, and a lot of people are interested in it. Falls under the advanced endpoint analytics. We have enterprise app management. So this is our application management and updating service that's built into Intune, that will allow you to deploy and manage first and third party applications directly from within Intune without the need for packaging them. No need to keep them updated for you automatically itself. And then we have what we are going to talk about in depth today, certificate management, or what we call Cloud PKI. And so let me go to the next slide to
actually
challenge
Anthony,
what that is.
You're still cutting out a bit.
Am I?
Yeah.
Is it a lot?
It's enough to be annoying.
Okay. All right, then what I will do is I'll skip over my parts and go straight to Paddy so that he can go straight into the demo. Paddy, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready, Anthony. All right.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries, Anthony. All right. So let me just give a quick intro on the Cloud PKI, and we'll jump into it. So why are we interested in talking about the Cloud PKI solution here? One of the main reason is if you're planning on planning between hybrid model and the intra ID model for your identity for your devices, one of the main thing that you'll have to consider is your service. What is your service authenticating? What is your service authentication using? Many of you may be using a radius server authentication for your Wi-Fi and maybe even for VPN. So in those scenarios, the service expects the clients to return a computer object, and this computer object is only available for devices that are connected with on-prem Active Directory. So if you're using a radius server authentication for your services, then that's one of the main reasons why you will need to stick with the hybrid AD join instead of going for a pure intra ID join. So the alternate way or the other way to come around this is to use thanks Anthony, is to use the Cloud PKI solution. So Cloud PKI is one of your important steps that you'll have to consider when you're planning for modernizing your architecture, your device management infrastructure. So with that background, let's jump into what is it looking what it looks like today in terms of managing certificates and deploying certificates through Intune. So now on the right side, if you see, you have the client on the top right, you see the clients, and on the bottom right, you see the services like Wi-Fi and VPN servers that are sitting on-prem, and the clients are trying to access it. So whenever a client tries to access one of these services on-prem, like Wi-Fi or VPN, the service first sends the server certificate, or more commonly it's called as SSL certificate, back to the client. The client verifies the certificate and then replies back with the client certificate to the service. The service again verifies that certificate, and once the verification is done, the client gets access to the service, be it Wi-Fi or VPN. Now, when we say verification, how that happens is using the trusted root certificate that's deployed from the on-prem root CA through the issuing CA to the client, as well as to the servers and services on-prem. So only with this root chain, both the client and the service, the Wi-Fi and the VPN service, or be it radius, not the radius, but Wi-Fi and VPN servers, can authenticate that the certificate that they received is a legitimate one. So that's how the on-prem CA root certificates plays an important role in certificate authentication. Now,
Patty, one sec. Omar, did you have a question?
I do have a question around Cloud PKI. It's around the particular scenario that we're experiencing here. If I'd like to see the rest of this particular piece, if that's okay, before I ask my question.
Yep, that's good. Okay, just wanted to make sure that it wasn't on something Patty just said.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, go ahead. Actually, Clint, you.
Yeah, there's another hand up, Clint.
I don't know if this was for the applause or the reaction. I think Garrett had asked for reaction.
It was an accident.
Yeah,
okay.
that usually happens to me too, so I kind of figured it was.
Okay, all right.
Sounds good. Sorry.
All right. So that's how overall the certificate flow works. Now there are a few other components that's involved in this flow as well. If you're using Intune, you also have to deploy the Intune certificate connector. It's a lightweight connector that you install on-prem so that these certificates can be sent to the Intune service in the cloud. And apart from that, there are few methods that you can use these certificates. One of the method is called the SCIP protocol. And for you to use a SCIP protocol, you need to have the NDES servers installed on-prem. And depending on the volume of clients, you may need multiple NDES servers installed and maintained. And the other thing is the certificate revocation list URL that again you have to maintain, and it has to be accessible by the clients on the internet as well, so that the certificates could be revoked. And then you have the app proxy, which is again a requirement for certificate management for clients on the internet, so that they can access the SCIP URL from outside your network. And then another important thing is HSM or hardware security module. Typically for customers who need to secure the certificate keys, they try and configure and install the HSM. And what we know is HSM is a very costly configuration. Requires you to invest a lot in that. So these are some of the components that works for that complete end-to-end certificate flow to happen and authenticate. So what we are doing here with Cloud PKI is, if you see this orange box, that's what we are helping you replace and simplify, and thereby reducing the cost. Because if you have to manage multiple NDES servers, it's going to again it's going to be a big effort. You need to for you to switch over from the radius authentication into a certificate based authentication, you may have to read and understand all these complex things that are required for you to set up that certificate infrastructure. But what we are trying to do here is making that switch from radius server authentication, or if you're not even using any authentication, to move into that secured authentication model quickly and easily by replacing all these complicated components in that orange box with just a few simple clicks. So in the next slide, Anthony, what you'll see is that complete orange box is being replaced in this cloud, and you can configure all these components in that cloud with just a few clicks, and we'll see that how it's done. And in this, as you can see, the theme around here is not replacing, but it's more of simplifying. Why we say it's more about simplifying and not replacing is because if you see at the bottom left, you see the on-prem root CA is still there and required for servicing the servers that are on-prem. So what we are trying to do is simplify your client certificate management, so that you don't have to maintain a lot of servers on-prem to manage the load, and you may have to have multiple load balancing servers. Those steps are all reduced, and also maintaining the proxy. And we also provide the Azure HSM, which is an Azure way of storing those keys in a secured security module, which again I mentioned that it's a costly venture if you have to do it on-prem by yourself. So all these is taken care by us, and we are simplifying that to make that switch from a older authentication model to a more modern authentication model. So this is one approach where you see a separate root CA and issuing CA in the cloud, and you also have your current on-prem root CA in the play. Now, Anthony, in the next slide, we also have another model where you don't have to really build a new root CA. Instead, you can just use your existing root CA and connect it with with the Cloud PKI in the cloud. So all your existing investments, all your existing deployments using the on-prem root CA stays intact. It's going to be more easier switch than the previous model where you're spinning up a new root CA in the cloud. Yes, Leaf, you have a question?
Sorry, I was just clapping
Oh,
because
okay.
we already have a root CA, and it's like how do you integrate it with what you already have? And then you just answered.
Perfect. Sounds good. So yeah, so what we think is for most of us, this model is going to be much more easier to move. And then in the next phase, you can completely cut off. You can completely go into a two root CA model, as discussed in the previous slide. So Anthony, next slide, please. So this is our what's next, but we don't have any ETA or anything. So what we are doing here is in the previous two slides, what you saw is the on-prem root CA is being retained, and we are using that to deploy or configure the SSL certificate that are required for the servers. The future plan is to have Cloud PKI also build and deploy SSL and other common certificates, so that you can completely get rid of your on-prem no CA infrastructure. But this is our plan, but we don't have any ETA around this, or I don't even know what kind of work is being done on this side for now. So like I said, our immediate goal is to simplify rather than replacing anything in your environment. With that, let's move to the next slide, Anthony. Okay, let me share my. Actually, there's a slide, I think. Yeah, let's move to the next slide, Anthony.
I had a question around. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so a couple of questions. This is part of the Intune Suite, correct?
And yes, it is part of Intune Suite, and also you can get this as a standalone add-on.
And is the Intune Suite free for education?
No, not free, Alan. But I know the remote help, which is part of the Intune Suite, is free, but not the complete suite.
So we are intra-joining our devices here, but our network team, they use Cisco ICE, and they are wanting to do this technology called ENA. I was hoping that the answer would be in Cloud PKI, but from what it sounds like, this is a replacement to the infrastructure. It would be a replacement solution to what's currently deployed instead of supporting solution. Specifically, we don't want to hybrid join our devices, but it sounds like we might have to if I'm Microsoft, or if PKI would be a solution, or I'm hoping that PKI would be a solution.
So your devices are right now hybrid joined, and you want to move away from hybrid join, right, Alan? And what is your current authentication model? Is it using certificate-based authentication or radius-based authentication?
Currently, it's certificate-based, but the migration with using Cisco ICE, it's going to be radius. We are currently intra-joined in this area.
I see. We may have to look into it and see what's going on there, Alan. If this will be will suit your needs or not. We'll have to do a little bit deep dive discussion with you and see if it suits you. And
that would be great. Thank you. One last question. What is Microsoft's stance on hybrid joining versus intra-joining?
Sorry, Alan, can you repeat that, please?
What's Microsoft's recommendations for hybrid joining versus intra-joining? Like, when should we intra-join? I have seen documentation out there where Microsoft does recommend intra-joining over hybrid joining, but is there like a timeline when Active Directory will be?
No, I don't think so. Anytime there's any plan even or discussed that they're going to completely get rid of the on-prem domain join or hybrid join. And our team can discuss, the prerequisites and the dependencies in a detail on another call. But the quick answer is what we know is most of the stuff that can be done on-prem with an hybrid join can be done with a pure intra-joined machine, be it accessing your file servers, printers, all these things can be achieved even with a pure intra-joined device. The only thing that cannot be done with an pure intra-joined device is, like I said, if any of your service is behind radius authentication. That's the only scenario that we cannot meet currently with a pure intra-ID joined device. In those scenarios, either you have to make a switch from radius server authentication to a certificate-based authentication, or have your devices hybrid join into your Active Directory.
Thank you for answering all my questions. Much appreciated.
No problem. No problem. Yeah. No, we can even talk about that on another call. Just to give you, briefly, what are the dependencies that we'll have to look into in terms of moving to an intra-joined method. Okay. So what we're going to see is some of the differences in deployment when it comes to the approach 1 and approach 2. So this is what you're seeing is approach 1. Where you're using a root CA and issuing CA on the cloud, and you also have your current on-prem root CA on-prem. So for this model, let's go to the next slide, Anthony. If you prefer that model, your deployment looks like this. Since the root CA and the issuing CA is a completely new entity in your environment, the root chain certificate has to be deployed to both client devices and the servers that are hosting the services. If you're going to switching or using this option 2 in the model, Anthony, let's move to the next slide. If you're using the model 2, where you're not using the root CA in the cloud, but you're using your on-prem CA and you're connecting it with the cloud, that means the deployment model looks like. Let's go to the next slide, Anthony. So since actually go back, Anthony. One more. Yes. So since in this model we are using your current root CA, the servers already know and they already have those root certificates. Just that the newer client devices or the PCs may not have the root certificate chain. Only in those scenarios you deploy the new the root certificate chain to those new Intune enrolled devices. But for your existing devices that already have that root certificate chain, you don't need to deploy anything. Nothing changes as such. So that's the beauty about the option 2, and it's much easier to deploy and configure. Let's move to the next slide, Anthony. Okay, so let me quickly show you why we say it's a simplified solution for you. Let me quickly go into the Intune portal and show you how it can be configured. Let me share my screen. Okay. So we are in the Intune portal, and then you go into tenant administration and then cloud PKI. So as we discussed, the first one is you create a root CA. And you choose the type here as root CA, the validity period as whatever you think could be right. And since it's a root CA, and right now we just support client authentication, but in future, like I said, there could be other options added. So if you want to future-proof yourself, you can choose those multiple things that you think your environment needs, like the client authentication, the server authentication and stuff. And then you mention the subject name. Country. Then state. And then you choose the encryption level. And once you go and click create, it's going to create yourself a root CA like this. And similarly, you will have to create a issuing CA. And this is where you choose whether you want to go with the cloud root CA or your own on-prem root CA. And then here you will choose the appropriate CA that you're connecting to. And since on the previous one we have chosen 10 years, we'll get an option to choose anything less than what you chose in the root CA. And then what is the purpose? Again, you get a subset of what you chose in the root CA. Since we chose the client and code auth, you can choose any one of them. And then again, you mention those information here. And once you click, go further, it creates you the issuing CA. Once you create the issuing CA and the root CA, what you can do is you go and download the certificate. Similarly, you download the certificate for the issuing CA. And the next thing what you do is so now with all these things, your complete PKI infrastructure is done. So it literally took me like 2 minutes or so for me to completely configure that complete setup, which might have taken like months if you were to do it on-prem, all by yourself. So this is all about Cloud PKI. But apart from that, how do you deploy these certificates, right? Let's look into that as well. So you go into devices, Windows, and then you choose configuration. Then you choose the policy. Choose the templates. Since we are going to deploy the root certificate, you choose the trusted certificate template. Then you choose the certificate that you saved. So if it's root certificate, you choose the root. If it's issuing CA, you choose the issuing CA certificate. And then you can choose whether to store it in the root or intermediate. And then you click next, and then assign it. And once you deploy it, it's going to go into your devices. The other thing that you'll have to deploy is the skip certificate. Again, you go into templates. So here you can choose whether the certificate is going to be deployed to a user or a device. Again, as the name suggests, if it's a user, it's just for that specific user, not for other users that are logging into the device. If it's a shared device, it's advisable to use a device based certificate. And then you choose the subject name format. This is these are all the information that the SCEP template is going to request when it is requesting for the certificate. And And then you choose the attributes that you want to use along with it. And then you choose the validity period. And you can choose whether you want to use a physical TPM module to save the keys, or you want to, if the devices don't have a TPM, you can also use a software-based storage method. TPM is going to be more secured. And then you choose whether you want those certificates to be digitally signed and also encrypted. And then you choose the encryption size. SHA-1 is an older one. SHA-2 is a newer one. And then you choose the profile that you just created for your root certificate. And then you choose the since this is for client authentication purposes, you choose the client authentication. And you can also see any purpose option here, which we don't recommend to use because of the security reasons, because it can be used for any any and all purpose. And then if anyone gets that certificate, it's going to be a real security concern for you. So do not choose any purpose for any reason. Choose a specific reason you want to choose. In this case, it's for client authentication. And then skip URL is where you get it from the issuing CA. So you go back to the devices, tenant administration, Cloud PKI, lab CA. And skip URL this is a skip URL, and that's what you're going to copy and paste it here. And with that, now once you go through all these steps, the certificate is going to be deployed. And when it gets deployed, how it looks on the client side is if you expand the certificate template, the skip certificate will be under the personal folder. And if you open this, the way you can identify that is you go here. If you see the subject name, it's going to have the client ID, the client's Azure, the client's device ID. Why we get that is because if you remember, we chose the Azure device ID over here, and that's what the certificate requested, and that's the certificate it got deployed to the device. And if you go into the Azure AD portal, this is one, and if you see, it fetched that device ID from the Entra ID system, and that's what you see it here. And similarly, we deployed the root certificates under the intermediate certification authority. So you'll see the root CA listed here. Root CA, and this is the issuing CA. So that's how the certificate deployment happens. So what we have done so far is we built the Cloud PKI using Intune, and then we created the root certificate and the issuing certificate, and then we deployed the skip certificate as well. So those are the three certificates we deployed. And then the certificates, the devices should start authenticating with your services. Quickly, I want to touch upon, we have 3 minutes. Actually, I'll skip this slide. Or at a quick snapshot, if you see, it's a two-tier hierarchy where you will have the root CA and the issuing CA, but you can have multiple root CAs or multiple tiers created in your environment. It's not just, you can just have one root CA and one issuing CA, but you can create multiple root CA and issuing CA for different purposes. You can also use your own root CA if required. These are the encryption algorithms. And then we also provide you with the certificate revocation list. You don't have to build that. And then it can be used for Windows, Android, Mac OS, and not only for Intune Enroll, but if you're using Configuration Manager, you can also use this for on your co-managed devices that are connected with Intune. And we provide the dashboard and reporting. Certificate lifecycle management, like you can go and revoke the certificates if you want to revoke. All that you need to do is simply go into the Cloud PKI issuing CA, and you'll see all the certificates that are issued. And from there, you can click on the specific certificate that you want to revoke. And if you click on revoke, it's going to be revoked on the device, and that device will no longer be able to access those services. That should be it. We have 2 minutes. Any questions?
If you're doing a hybrid co-managed autopilot deployment, what point would the PKI certificate for CM get pulled down in autopilot? Is that during the device provisioning stage, the user provisioning stage? It would be a device certificate for CM.
Right. Let me think. Right. So we go through the and you said this is for hybrid join, is it?
Correct.
Right. I think it's the place where the user tries to authenticate the first time. That's when it's going to require the VPN connection if you're offsite. I think it's during the device ESP phase is when the certificate should be deployed.
Okay, so that should be before the user has to log in and like would have to connect to the VPN and all of that.
So VPN connection happens even before that, right? VPN connection is the first part, if I'm right, for all this to happen.
So the first, I guess it depends on how you have it configured. So we typically skip the AD check and then just allow them to like connect afterwards. But we tried the old SCEP connector because we were having an issue where like it would take forever for CM to start doing stuff because you had to get on the VPN and then it had to do a GP update to get the certificate from AD. So we tried the older SCEP that you talked about early on, and that like wasn't great. So I'm just curious if this is essentially going to function in the same way as the older just Intune connected SCEP, or if this somehow integrates better with Intune and there's a specific time that it gets pulled down, and it's not just getting pulled down as just, whatever order it happens to pull the compliance or configuration policies in.
Yeah, this is something. Yeah,
Paddy,
go on.
Let me answer this. So in order for you to get the certificates, you need to deploy your certificate profile. And so you've got a choice between, do you want to deploy a machine or a user cert? And then you will target that, whichever one it is, you'll target that to the appropriate group. So if it's a machine cert, you target it to a device group. If it's a user cert, you target it to a user group. And so depending on, the ESP phases, you're either going to go through the device setup phase. That's where the device cert will come. And if it's a user cert, then that would come during the user phase during ESP. And so it's basically just coming down to the configuration profiles and who the target audience is.
Okay, but there's nothing special about this over the other SCEP as far as when things will process during autopilot.
No, because it's like, so if you were using SCEP certs with NDES like the old way, or I guess it's still the current way, if you will, that process really isn't any different. The only difference here is that the SCEP URL that you're using is pointing to the internal Microsoft issuing CA instead of your NDES SCEP URL. That's the only difference.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so there isn't any like additional priority that we're giving for these certs versus you using NDES.
So bulk registration tokens it is.
Yes, if you want to renew those every 6 months.
Yep, that's right. So the process remains the same there. It's just the backend infrastructure is what is being simplified. Did we get these answered, Richard?
There's a lot of questions in the chat. It's not, a lot of them have been answered. A lot of them around pricing, various other things that I'm just kind of trying to answer right now. Tom asks, did I understand that right now that only client auth works and not code signing? No, if you look at all the extended key usage types, Patty, I wasn't actually looking at your screen at the time because I was responding to the chat, but when you go through and you create your root CA, you specify the different extended key usages. And so depending on that, whether it's going to be client auth, server auth, there's a bunch of different things in that list that you can pick. And if you only limit it to something like client auth, then your issuing CA is only going to be able to distribute a certificate for client auth. But you select all of that in your root certificate before you create the root CA before you create the issuing CA.
Right, but for now, Cloud PKI only supports client authentication method as of now, Tom.
I don't think I'd put it that way. Because in the EKUs, you select whether it's going to be client auth or
it allows us to select, Richard, but for now, the product only supports the client auth, if I'm right. They allow us to select, but only the client auth works for now.
Okay, we'll double check on that to see if that's still the case.
Clear as mud.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Just trying to look through the rest of the chat on the questions, see if there's anything we missed. But as I mentioned in the chat, if you received I posted a screenshot on the email that you should have all received that says the new EDU Endpoint Office Hours group is ready. If you got that email, there's like 4 different links for things you can click on. The one in the top left that says start a conversation, that is the link that would get you to the email DL, which is what I also posted in the latest message in the chat. So you should have that email. If you were added to the team, you should have received that. That means that you're in the group. That means you can email the DL. If you did not receive that, then you need to re-register to the team. And you need to re-register, which Tom posted a link to that a few messages up. So if you click into this one, that's URL defense. I don't need URL defense. Hang on. AK.ms/EDU Endpoint Office Hours. Should be this link here. Yeah. So if you did not get that email, then you need to re-register. And that is the URL that you'll need to go and click on, fill out the form, and then we'll add you to the team so you can send an email to the DL. And then from there, just go ahead and communicate with us and we'll respond, and hopefully others that are in the group will respond as well. So with that, we're over a few minutes. Thanks for sticking around. And thanks a lot, Patty and Anthony, and also Garrett, he had to take off a bit early. So with that, everyone have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you for the next one. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.